You know when you're reading something and it just works? The sentences just glide into each other, the ideas click into place, and you're not fighting to understand it? Well, that feeling of flow, it's not some kind of magic. It's architecture. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible structure that makes great writing feel so incredibly effortless.
So this is really the big question, isn't it? Why is it that one piece of writing can feel like this perfectly built bridge of ideas, while another one, maybe using the exact same words, just feels like a messy pile of bricks? The answer, it turns out, is something called cohesion, the explicit, visible connections that guide you, the reader, from one thought to the next. Let me show you with a really simple example. Okay, take a look at these two little conversations. In dialogue A, when you hear "he's in the garden," you know exactly who he is. The word he points right back to John. The link is right there, clear as day. But now look at dialogue B. The grass needed cutting. To get that, we have to assume that John is the one who cuts the grass. See the difference? One is totally self-contained and the other relies on outside knowledge. This tiny distinction is the key to everything we're about to unpack.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down the difference between two crucial ideas: cohesion and coherence. Then, we're going to open up the writer's toolkit and check out the 5 main tools they use to build that flow. After that, we'll take apart a real piece of text to see it all in action. I'll show you a pretty cool advanced trick, and then we'll wrap it all up with why any of this actually matters to you.
All right, first things first, let's get our terms straight. Really understanding the difference between cohesion and coherence is a total game changer. It's what separates good writers from great ones, and it's basically the difference between the words on the page and the overall meaning in your head.
So cohesion is all about the stuff you can literally point to on the page. It's the visible glue. It's the grammar and the vocabulary choices that physically ties sentences and ideas together. Remember dialogue A? The word he is a cohesive device. It creates that obvious link back to John. You don't need any special knowledge or context to get the connection. It's right there in the text. Coherence, on the other hand, is about whether something just makes sense. It's the big picture. Dialogue B was coherent, but only if you happen to know that John cuts the grass. It relied on unstated, shared knowledge between the speakers. Now, for writing, where the author isn't standing over your shoulder to explain things, you can't just hope for coherence. You have to build it with cohesion. Okay, so if cohesion is this magical glue, what is it actually made of? Well, this is where it gets fun. We're going to open up the writer's toolkit and look at the 5 main ways you can create these connections, first laid out by the linguists Halliday and Hassan. And here they are, the big 5. We've got reference, which is using words to point at other words; substitution, for swapping out words to keep things fresh; ellipsis, which is about what you leave out; conjunctions, which are your linking words; and lexical cohesion, which is all about choosing related vocabulary. Mastering these is just like a carpenter mastering their tools. So let's dive into a couple of the most common ones right now. So reference. You use this one all the time without even thinking about it. You ever notice how much we use words like he, she, it, or this? That's reference. It's just using one word to point to another, and it's what saves us from having to say the same noun over and over and over again. This sentence is a perfect example of how simple and, honestly, how powerful reference is. The word he points back to some person we've already talked about, and it obviously points back to the garden. I mean, can you imagine how clunky this would be otherwise? When John finally saw the garden, John thought the garden was beautiful. Yikes. Those 2 little pronouns are doing some heavy lifting. That's cohesion at its best. All right, next up is a really cool one, ellipsis. This is basically the art of leaving things out. Now that sounds a little weird, right? Like, why would leaving words out make things clearer? But we do this constantly when we talk. It trims away the fat, the words that are already totally understood, and it makes our writing sound much more natural. Look at this example. The second sentence just says, "not even half done." Now that little triangle isn't actually in the text. It's just there to show us where words are missing. We could have said, "not even half of the work will be done," but we absolutely don't need to. Our brain just fills in the blank automatically. It's efficient, it's elegant, and it's a super strong, cohesive tie. Okay, theory is great, but let's get our hands dirty and see how all this stuff comes together in the real world. We are going to take a short letter to a newspaper and see if we can spot the cohesive devices holding the whole argument together. This is where we get to see the architect's actual blueprint. So here's a little snippet from our text. It's about a proposed bus service. Just reading these first few lines, you can already start to feel the argument building, right? The sentences feel like they belong together. But why? What's actually connecting them?
So when we actually break it down, you can see all these different tools working together. We've got reference, where the pronoun it points right back to the counsel. There's ellipsis, where a verb is left out, but we still get it. We've got a conjunction, therefore, creating a nice cause and effect link. And conjunctions are so powerful. They can show contrast, like however, or add information, like furthermore. And finally, we see lexical cohesion, where using the synonym public transport connects back to the original bus service. It's like this intricate web of connections, all working together to build a really solid persuasive argument. Okay, now that you've got the fundamentals down, let's look at a more advanced technique. This is a pro-level move that skilled writers use to package really complex ideas and make their arguments incredibly precise. It's a special kind of lexical trick called a shell noun.
So what are shell nouns? Well, think of them like little containers for your ideas. You take a big, complex thought, maybe a whole chain of events or complicated argument, and you encapsulate it. You pop it inside a single noun shell, like problem or situation, reason or aim. And once you've done that, you can refer back to that entire massive idea with just one simple word. It's brilliant.
And you can really see the power of this in action here. In the first example, the writer says, this must be addressed. This what? The unfocused activity, the contradictions? It's pretty vague. But in the second example, the writer uses a shell noun phrase, this wasteful duplication. Bam! Suddenly it's crystal clear. The whole complex problem is neatly packaged, and the argument can move forward with total precision. You see this all the time in academic papers or business reports with words like the issue, the finding, or this trend. It's a super powerful way to summarize and then comment on what you've just said.
So we've gone through the definitions, we've opened the toolkit, we've even learned some advanced tricks. But why does any of this really matter? Well, because understanding this invisible architecture doesn't just make you a better writer. It makes you a smarter, more critical reader. It lets you see exactly how arguments are built and how they can be taken apart. So let's just quickly recap the big ideas here. Cohesion is that visible glue holding your writing together. Your core toolkit has those 5 key devices that create clarity and make your writing flow. And consciously using them doesn't just upgrade your own work, it gives you a kind of X-ray vision to see how other people build their arguments, to spot the weak points, and to really appreciate when something is masterfully constructed.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. The real skill isn't just knowing how to use a pronoun or a conjunction. It's about knowing what ideas actually need to be linked together in the first place. It's about seeing the logic in your own argument and then choosing the right tool for the job with purpose.
So the blueprint is yours now. You can see the beams, the joints, the whole invisible structure that holds a text together. The question isn't really how writing works anymore. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Now that you can see the invisible threads of language, what will you build?